Hello, my name is Sucheta and today I'm going to present a demonstration on how to build a secure API. This video is divided into three parts. The first part is an introduction to the topic to understand what an API is. Then we'll see how a JSON token is used in an API security, followed by a demonstration example of the API which is created, and then we'll try to get a data set created in the API into the Postman application, and then try to use the get methodology on it. And then for the output, we'll try to recommend which API security works best. So understanding an API. API, or the application programming interface, is a computer interface that defines interaction between multiple software intermediaries. It defines the kind of calls or requests that can be made or how to make them, the data formats to be used, the conventions to follow, etc. So in simpler words, API can be defined as the software intermediary having a set of tools or functions which allow two applications to talk to each other. Now let's see how a JSON token is used in an API. We'll try to explain it using this diagram. So for the client to access the secret page or to gain authority, the client initially requests the resource owner to gain authority, and the resource owner then gives authority grant, which is the credentials created for the resource owner authorization. Then the client requests the access token from the authorization server by authenticating itself by showing the authorization grant. Then the server checks for the authorization grant. It checks the validity of the grant, and if the authorization grant is valid, it gives the access token to the client. Then the client takes the access token to the server where he wants a particular output or a particular page to be displayed. He sends the request in the form of the access token to the resource server. The resource server then checks the validity of the access token and then grants the output. If the token is valid, the desired page is displayed or it shows an error. So now let's go for the demonstration. For that I will open Visual Studio. Okay, so there are five projects which I've created to demonstrate how an API security works. Okay, so let's first try how a simple authentication using a cookie works. So for this authentication, initially will not be authenticated to visit the secret page. So here we have no authentication. Let's try to access a secret page. The user understands that we are authenticated. He gives the admin claim, and then when we try to access the secret page again, we are granted the access, and now we can see the secret page. Also, when we were not authorized, or when we first got the home page, there was no cookie, but when we got the access, there's a cookie created here. When we try to clear the cookie, and then try to load this page again, we'll again be redirected to the home page. So that's how a basic cookie authorization and authentication works. Let's stop this and let's see how a basic identity authentication works, where the user is authenticated either by providing a user ID and password. There are various forms of identity. It can be done using an email verification. So let's see how this works. So initially we are redirected to the home page. So when we try to register, when we try to open the secret page, we'll be redirected to the login page. And if it's the first time that you're opening it and you're not a registered user, we can always go back to the register page. We can register ourselves here, then we'll again be redirected to the home page. I am a registered user, so I tried to using the same thing, so that's why I got an error. So initially, if you are a new user and you try to register yourself, you will be redirected to the login page, and when you put your user ID and password here, you will be granted access to the secret page. So and that's how an identity verification authentication works in an API security. Now let's try the OAuth methodology and try a basic example of server. Where an output will be displayed once the access token is provided. We're using the JSON token to provide the output here. So this is the home page, and when we try to access the secret page, will be displayed an error. So yeah, we're getting an error 401. So let's first authenticate ourselves. So this is the token we get from the server. So let's copy that. Now what we are trying to do is to access the secret page. To access the secret page, we have to authenticate ourselves. So we are providing with the access token. So let's paste the access token here. And now we are redirected to the server page. So there are various websites or applications available on the internet to decode this access token to see which algorithm or which payloads are used by the application or the API. But let's try and do this in the URL. So let's grab a part of the access token, let's say the first part, and let's try to decode it. So we're providing with the first part now. So it tells us that we are using the algorithm HS256, which is the most common algorithm used in the API security, and the type of the token is a JSON token. So that's how the OAuth security works. Let's stop this. It can so an API is a mechanism, as we discussed earlier, which allows communication between two or multiple web pages or applications. So we are going to try doing that. So when we try to run multiple web pages, we'll still get the same. We'll still be authenticated if the correct authentication token is provided to us without any errors. So this is the API page, and we are not accessed right now. And same way, this is the client homepage and this is the server homepage. So from the client homepage, we're going to try access the home secret page. So this is the token which is again provided to us. So here initially we can try saying that we are the user, we are trying to authenticate, we get an error because we don't have the token or the server doesn't identify us. So in a similar way, we will try to authenticate ourselves using the access token. which was provided earlier, or we'll try to register ourselves and then run the code in a similar manner. And that's how OAuth methodology, authentication and authorization works. Let's try to go over it. So as we saw three types of authentication and authorization in the demonstration for the API. Now let's see for the recommendation. I think OAuth is best method to authenticate for an API security, as the standard model of OAuth uses secure sockets layer for data transfers, which ensures a trusted cryptology used to keep data as safe as possible. OAuth does not share password but instead uses authorization tokens to prove an identity between customers and services. OAuth gives the power to the users to allow site-limited access to their data. It also allows the user to control the time frame window, which gives the power to decide when a particular token will expire. So for the API, we created the token expiry is every 5 minutes. Initially, it was set to every millisecond, which just caused errors.